Welcome, everybody, to the Swiss Army Man podcast, episode number 6. Today we're going to have a little bit of an NBA, mostly slanted show because NBA starts today, which makes sense because I'm playing essentially what is my flu game right now. I had the flu pretty bad, and last night kind of murdered me as a human being. Spent a good portion of my time not keeping things inside of my body, so that was super fun. But won't bore you with those details. And we'll move kind of straight into why we're here. So, episode number 6, talk some basketball. Wanted to start out with the big thing that I saw basketball-wise, which was Michael Jordan being a salty human being, and basically saying that Steph Curry wasn't yet a Hall of Fame player. A little ridiculous. I mean, for me, Michael Jordan, obviously I grew up in the era where Michael Jordan was the dominant force. He's grown. His legend has grown bigger and bigger every year. He hasn't played, and he just continues to get bigger. And obviously there's a LeBron and MJ who's greater. I think growing up in the era, I got to see kind of how it really all unfolded in Jordan's career, and realized that Jordan wasn't a one-man team. He had really good players around him and all that kind of stuff. So, but we won't go there with that. But the fact that what many consider the GOAT of basketball is calling Steph Curry not a Hall of Famer yet and disrespecting him in that manner is pretty sad. To this point in Steph Curry's career, he has 3 NBA titles, 2 MVPs. He's one of the few players in the 50-40-90 club, which if you don't know what that means, it means 50% field goal percentage, 40% three-point percentage, and 90% free throw percentage. Very, very few people have done that in their career for an entire season. So it's a pretty prestigious club. He's been a scoring champion, 6-time All-Star, and 3-time first team All-NBA. So in a fairly short part of his career. I think Steph's going into season 10 right now. It's pretty impressive. So Steph Curry's definitely earned his way into the Hall of Fame. Even if he retired today, he would be in the Hall of Fame. If for nothing else, the way he plays basketball has revolutionized the game of basketball. The three-point shot has become even more mandatory as part of a skill set to play in the NBA. More players are doing it. More three-pointers are being shot year after year. Because Steph Curry, and with an attachment of Klay Thompson, showed that a three-point shooting team can be a very, very deadly combo and be able to go out and win titles. And so Steph Curry has helped revolutionize the sport of basketball and how people are looking at basketball going forward. So for that alone, right there, he might as well be a Hall of Famer because he's revolutionized the sport. On top of the fact that he's won 3 titles and all that kind of stuff. So there's players in the Hall of Fame that haven't won even a title. Players in the Hall of Fame that definitely haven't won an MVP. Players in the Hall of Fame that definitely haven't been first team All-NBA at some point in their career. And definitely players in the Hall of Fame that haven't been 50-40-90 club members. So, with all of those being on his resume, it's a for sure lock that Steph Curry is going to be an NBA Hall of Famer and has already earned that distinction. It's just you can't go into the Hall of Fame until obviously after you're retired. So, Steph Curry, Hall of Famer, Michael Jordan, salty. Let's move on. Big stud. Let's move on to possible the up in the air career of Zion Williamson, who could be a Hall of Famer, could be an all-time bust. So he's in that point of his career where all of the speculation happens, and we'll find out over the next couple of years which one it is. Zion Williamson obviously comes into this year with all of the hype, and then some. His hype has hype. That's how hyped up he is. I personally don't think he's going to be an amazing player in the NBA. I think he's going to be a solid player, maybe in the ballpark of a better Julius Randle, maybe. Yeah, I mean, in that range. I think he's an all-star at some point in his career. I think he definitely is going to have some great highlights. Just don't know that he's going to be a solid NBA player, like where he can lead a team. I don't know if he can be a 1 or 2 on the team. Maybe he'll be a 3. Maybe he'll be. Maybe I'll be wrong. I mean, that's a possibility. But I just don't. Watching him, I think he's an electric player, but he's just not that. I don't think he's the guy that's going to be a lead on a team. I don't think he's going to be up in your Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James stratosphere. He could be like an Anthony Davis. I know people think Anthony Davis is like a star, and I think obviously he puts up the numbers to do that, but he's just inconsistent with how much he's on the court. I think his career kind of might fall into that zone. He might put up good numbers, have a couple wishy-washy games, and then get hurt. I don't know if he can sustain the ability to play throughout an entire career healthy, and that obviously will hurt him. But I bring him up because his anticipation of NBA season starting, he should be all good to go, and now he's out for 6 to 8 weeks to start his career. So I believe I was reading it's a meniscus that he had repaired. So that's going to put him out 6 to 8 weeks. That should probably bring him back being somewhere around Christmas Day, which is when NBA really starts anyway. Yeah. So we'll have to hold off on our Zion Williamson, see how he's doing in his career chatter for a couple more weeks. But I expect him to have a pretty good start to his career, like come out and play really well, and then the NBA to figure him out and kind of have his number. So I don't expect him to be the stud that everyone is just kind of pumping him up to be. So moving on from that, let's talk about Jaylen Brown, who just got paid. I mean, the man just got a ton of money. 4 years, $115 million. The reason I bring it up, I usually don't talk a ton about players' contracts because whatever someone's going to pay you is what you're worth. But it's an interesting case in Jaylen Brown's scenario because he's been very hit or miss. He was on the bench at one point last year. Like, he was coming off of the bench, and he got a contract that's more of a star-level contract than somebody who would be coming off the bench. The NBA does have ridiculous contracts, I know, and so players get paid very frequently in high dollar quantities. But that's a lot of money for Jaylen Brown. Now, if Jaylen Brown plays like he did in the playoffs last year, then he's probably worth a good amount of that. Also, in speaking of Jaylen Brown, I think the Celtics are going to be an interesting team this year with Kyrie Irving leaving, getting Kemba Walker, picking up Enes Kanter. You get Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, Carson Edwards, the rookie that they picked up, shooting some threes. I think it could be an interesting team. I think they're deeper than they were last year. I think they might play a little bit better. And so that's kind of what made the Jaylen Brown signing even more interesting to me. But obviously that team has him in their plans and has him in their future. So I think that gives them Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kemba Walker locked up fairly long term. I think they still got another couple years on Gordon Hayward. So that the core of that team should stay together for the most part, and then give it a good run here. So interesting to see what Jaylen Brown can do. 4 years, $115 million. I think all but 12 of that's guaranteed, and those guarantees, the non-guarantees, are seem to be pretty easy to hit. If I was reading, what I was reading was correct. Some of them are like if the team wins over 49 games, if you make an All-Star game, something like that. Some weird, easy ones to hit that they have like 3 options to hit the bonus clause. So that would be interesting. Jaylen Brown is, I think he's a good player. I use him a lot in my FanDuel lineups. He puts up good numbers. It's just, it'll be, I mean, I don't know if, yeah, I think it's just shocking because of the dollar value. And I think that might just be the new NBA, but 4 years, $115 million. I think a lot of people are like, this could suck if he doesn't turn out to be the player we think he's going to be. So hopefully Jaylen Brown is, because when he is on, he's on, and he's a pretty interesting player to watch. So big contract there. Next up, my brother sent me a top 5 for me to do. That was basketball related. He asked me top 5 second-year players poised to make a jump. So I went about kind of looking around and doing a little bit of research, and I came up with my 5, and I think they're a pretty good 5. Some of them are going to be obvious, and then some of them are not. So we'll start with number 5, Mitchell Robinson from the Knicks. Was really good on defense last year. It could be a liability to the team. He's got all those weird things that, like, he could end up being a real good player, or he could be a dud. But I think with no one really going there of significance to the Knicks, and he's going to have to play a good amount of time, I think Mitchell Robinson is going to have to make a jump for the Knicks to be even somewhat relevant. And so I'm going to say Mitchell Robinson's my number 5. Number 4 is going to be DeAndre Ayton, and I definitely probably said his last name wrong there, but number 1 pick in last year's draft. Already had a pretty good season. I know they're moving him around a little bit in position-wise and trying to get him in to where he feels comfortable. I think he comes out and has an even better season than he did last year, and plays up to that number 1 overall pick, being pushed by a couple of the other guys in that draft to up his game. So that's my number 4. Number 3 is a off-the-wall one a little bit, but Michael Porter Jr., who played not one bit of games last year for the Denver Nuggets, seems to be healthy and seems to be ready to come back and essentially have his rookie season. So I think he'll make a pretty big jump, obviously, from 0 to whatever he does, and I think he's going to show everyone that he was a little bit of a steal in last year's draft. Even though he didn't play at all last year, I think he's going to live up to what he can do. So it'll be interesting to see him come out and play and see what he can actually do to help Nuggets team that was pretty good last year and looking to hopefully continue to be good in a now totally stacked West. So number 2, Trae Young, just seems to get better and better and better and better. The dude does some crazy stuff already, and I can only imagine what he's going to do in his second year. I think his jump will be quite amazing, seeing as he has already had a really solid rookie year and like a super solid rookie year, and should really in any other year would have been probably the rookie of the year. But Trae Young is a beast, and I think he's going to go into straight superstardom mode this year for the Hawks. And then last but not least, you have last year's rookie of the year, Luka Doncic, and he's going to come out and I think just even take it to another level. I know he's already playing at a pretty damn high level, but I think this year is the year he even goes higher. So we should see him come out and absolutely shred the court and ball out of control for the Dallas Mavericks. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. Luka Doncic out there being a superstar. I really think Trae Young and Luka Doncic are going to be superstars we're going to be watching for quite a long time in this league. Dudes that are just extremely talented and have the ability to put a team on their back and drag them all the way to the top. So be interesting to see how their careers go, but those two for sure, even though they are already so good, they're my 1 and 2 for players to make a jump, because I think they're going to even go to another stratosphere this year. So with all that being said, we'll go down to that's pretty much all of my NBA that I wanted to talk about. I do think I might as well just give a random prediction here. of who I think is going to be the finals. I think the Golden State Warriors go for the West. I know they're not expected as highly as they have in the past couple of years, but I think they're still damn good. So I think they kind of sort of surprise people when they're playing super good. I think people are underestimating that team for really, and I think people are forgetting how good they were before they had Kevin Durant, and freaking they still have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. I know Klay Thompson's out for the majority of the year, if not all the year. But they got D'Angelo Russell, and that's going to help fill a little bit of that void. Obviously not the same player, but definitely going to fill that void. So I have the Golden State Warriors coming out of the West, and I think Boston coming out of the East. I think, as we were just talking about Jaylen Brown, I think that team is deeper than they have been, and I think they have a chance to make a run into the finals. So I know it's a little bit of an off-the-wall one. I know a lot of people have 76ers and all that stuff, but I think Boston, if they can gel, has a good team, really, really good team. And then also, same thing with Golden State. I think they're a little bit underrated, and I think they like being underrated, to be honest with you. So that'll be interesting. So ultimately I have the Golden State Warriors winning in the finals against the Boston Celtics. And then last but not least, let's change it up to a different sport. We got the World Series starting tonight with the Nats and the Astros. Won't talk too much about it, but baseball is one of my favorite sports. Absolutely love the fact that the Nats are going to be playing. They're not my team that I root for, but my brother is a huge Nats fan, and I have always had them as like one of the teams I do cheer for. So I'm hoping that the Nats can pull it out. I know the Astros are kind of still feel like they're like a under-respected team, even though they already have a title under their belt. But the Nats, it would be kind of cool to see if they could pick it up, especially after losing Bryce Harper. Would be really, really interesting to see them go and win a title without what many considered their best star last year. So, yeah, team's playing really good. Hopefully they continue to roll. I have the Washington Nationals in 7 in a tight series, and hopefully we get some good moments out of it, and hopefully we get a lot of good baseball. So that's it for today. That's your podcast, Swiss Army Man podcast number 6. Excited for basketball to start. Excited for the World Series. Excited for all of the NBA. It's the best time of year right now. Like literally the next couple of weeks, like it's gonna be like we're gonna have all the major sports. Hockey's back. It's gonna be awesome. So enjoy the sports. Enjoy watching the World Series. Enjoy watching the NBA opening. And yeah, let's have some fun with this. I'm gonna make a poll in my on my Twitter, which is at Swiss Army Man Pod. And I'm going to say who's going to win tonight. It's going to be between the Clippers and the Los Angeles Lakers. They start off the season against each other. So go vote on that. And then, yeah, that's it. Follow me at PatchOfBlackDFS. Follow the pod at Swiss Army Man Pod. And we'll see you next time. Peace.